Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is David Arnold. I'm one of the senior trainers here at Workamajig. Today's topic is going to be give them what they need, right? Navigation and access tips. A little bit of bookkeeping, or sorry, a little bit of bookkeeping here. If you have any questions, those can be put into either the Q&A or I think the webinar chat. I can't remember which one we shut down, but I believe the question and answer should work. Um, as far as the video being available later, we upload these to YouTube. And so if you actually subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see those when they're updated. Okay. Um, and let's get started, guys. Okay. So I've kind of say, there's two levels of setup to help your staff interact with Workamajig better. Some will be system level, where your admins are the ones setting things up, and others it'll be the individual. How do they set up their screens so they can see the information they need? Okay, so I'm going to start out with more the admin side. How do I set these up? Okay. So the very first one, which I kind of find incredible, is the use of just the search, right? This is kind of a bolt. There's a little bit of setup for this, but up in the top right corner is the global search. Now, this has several things, right? I can either do a global search, and that will allow me to basically a type forward type of thing and search, and it'll say, a contain search. And so if I search for Franklin, for example, it's going to give me all of these. Sorry, for example, if I search for Franklin, it's going to give me results in these different areas. Okay. The other part of the global search is recent. And so this is going to be a list of all of the different items that you selected, right? So I went into different projects, I'd open invoices, things like that. So whatever I believe we store up to 20 in here. Those are actually quite extensive for what you're doing. The last is the views. And these views are coming off the today pages. So again, today timesheets, or sorry, your timesheets. If you're in sales, it'd be the contacts. If you're in project management, again, you'll recognize some of these off of the today page. Okay. So again, just a quick access to all of these items. The other thing that we can do within this, again, sorry, a little bit more of an individual, is just saying, I can favorite a certain view. So for example, if I do contacts and I'm always looking at neglected contacts, I can go ahead and favorite that. And now this is going to be right at the top of my list. So I can say, oh, I need to get to my neglected contacts and it'll run that way. Okay. So again, it's just more the global search, the recent and the views. Now, as far as admin setup, there is a system setting for this for people who have access to it. And you can, by security group, decide what is actually in the global search, what does show up. So you can see it's, if they don't deal with vendor payments, right? There's no reason for them to be able to search in that. You don't have to deselect it because they still wouldn't have it. But again, maybe there's some other things that you really don't need them to go searching through, and you just want to eliminate that from the global search. So that would be, again, the admin setting up of that area. Okay. All right. The next thing, kind of connected to this and maybe into the views, is just creating views that fit what your people need. So I have, for example, under billing client invoices, and I have a few of these, and maybe you guys have received some of these from me, but I have, for example, a deposit allocation. So this is a custom view that's been created. It provides, basically an aging report for me, right? As you can see, and it separates out the advance bills versus my revenue invoices. Now, again, I don't have to do the separation. I can just give you this option. Then from this, again, I'm setting up what information does my team need. Okay. Then I can, as under the settings, I can decide what security group and what person can access it, of course. So I can do this by security group, saying these security groups can see this and run it. But I can also say just these certain people can run it. And that's true for any report or view. So again, how do I give them the best access? Give them the data. This is what they need to see. So when they run this, they're setting maybe the filters, setting up the filters that they need, and they're then running it. The other thing we may do to it is also under, under settings, is we can actually have it auto run. So whenever I open this based upon my past filters, it'll run it. Okay. So again, very quick way to get the information that your team needs. Like I said, these can be also be favorited. So again, they're in that view list and they're at the top of the page. Okay. The other thing I may do, again, this may be a report or a view that's very helpful. Maybe we do it for the Monday morning scrum. We have the ability to uh, schedule these. And so the idea is based upon the filters I just ran, that'll give me the information I need on a timely basis. And I can go ahead and say, create a new schedule. And so, for example, I'm going to, on this one, I'm just saying, when do I want this to run and be sent? How do I want it sent? So again, I want it to basically keep this. It starts today. It'll run at 12:45. I may run this at 6 o'clock in the morning for that Monday morning or something like that. So again, you can set the time that it runs to get the data. You're then going to be able to set, how often does this run? Now, again, if it's a weekly report, then I'm going to obviously set it to weekly and then what day does it run or something like that. And then when does it end? I save that. That's more like a calendar event. And then from there, I'm saying who should get this. So again, I can pick the people that I need to send this out to. And just let you know, I can actually send this to contacts as well. So if you have some people that are outside your agency and they need to see something, again, I can schedule it and have it sent to them as well as a PDF or Excel. So sometimes people are using this, for example, media. What media was bought last month or this month? Right? I can set up this schedule on that type of report that provides them with that data and it automatically sends out to them. Okay. It could be, again, a running total of invoices, maybe, again, a little adjusted one for this deposit allocation type of thing. What's aging? Again, I can send this report to that client automatically. Again, obviously, I would filter it down to just that one client, right? I wouldn't run it to show them everything. I'd filter it down to that one client, run it, schedule it, then create another one, run it, schedule it. That makes sense. Okay. Again, this feature of scheduling is available on all views and also custom reports. The difference is you would need to, again, just come in and say, sorry, you need to set the filters and then search, and then the new schedule will appear. Okay, if you hadn't done that yet, then these would not be available. All right. Okay. The next thing I would talk about is maybe the notifications. Again, there's two types of notifications. Some will be uh, coming up here in the bell. So when things are set to me, what is it that sits in here that I can then access? So I see that there's an expense report, some vendor invoices, some deliverables, project requests. Again, these are things that I've been sent to me to seek approval. Okay. As an admin, once again, you can control what is it that they see in here to move forward with. Okay. So this is sometimes a way for, like, for example, purchase orders. Again, orders in general are based upon value, right? That's why it's sent to me. But if I really don't want them to, look at it, but they kind of need it sometimes. Uh, so instead of it being sent to them, it may still be technically sent to them, but I may hide it from their bell so they're really not paying attention to it. Okay. Can they access it in another way? Yes. But again, this is the one where I'm taking it away from them as far as a notification. So it's not in their, in their list of things to do because they wouldn't really deal with it. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So we also have real-time notifications where certain things are sent. It can actually be a pop-up. I have a hard time triggering it at this time, sorry. But for the most part, that's a setup on two locations uh, from, again, we're talking about notifications. So Workamajig, Admin Manager, System Setup, Transaction Preferences, and under notification options, we have this system notification. And these will just be browser pop-ups. So you have to turn on your browser pop-up, but you can designate what items would be available in that pop-up notification. Okay. Then on the individual side, sorry, this is a little tag team on this one. On the individual side, under their default settings, they can actually say, these are the notifications that I then want. Okay. So again, as an admin, right, you're setting it up to say all of these things would be available. And then it's up to the individual to then decide which ones do they want as a notification pop-up versus it'll always go to the bell, right? We know that. But again, does it pop up in the browser? All right. So again, just those little things that again put the information out there quicker for your staff. Okay. Now, as an admin, and again, helping your team to work faster and more efficient for project management, we have a couple things. So, under the global lists, we have, of course, our project templates. Okay. I'm still surprised how a lot of people are not using these, but the idea, of course, of a template is you get the project when I start up an event project or a PR project or a website, whatever it is, 60, 70, 80% of it, maybe even more, is already pre-set up for me. So when I come into this, again, I'm picking it as something new. That schedule is already kind of defined, which I can always edit at the time, right? When I create it, but it's bringing in usually not people. Sorry, I have a person set up here. That would be incorrect. But I have the services and the hours and also the duration of the task. So all of this kind of pre-set up so I can get hey, how much is it going to take to do this as a base? If the client asks for more or less, I can make slight adjustments and then, activate the project. So again, having it kind of pre-filled out gets me, cuts down the amount of time it takes to actually start up a project. It also will help some of these tasks that you have set up as kind of tracking tasks. So I want to track account management. Well, account management time, it's not a timing. So I'm going to set it up slightly different. I'm still going to have it track budgets, but it's not a scheduled task. And if it is a scheduled task, I'm likely going to say it's duration of project. So it's just always open. The other thing I'm going to do if I did say schedule the task is I'm going to exclude from status. So again, these kind of overarching tasks, I'm going preset up to have those settings so I don't have to think about it when I maybe add it in. Okay, so I can either drag this set of tasks into my new project or it's already kind of predefined within my template. So again, speeds up that project startup process. Okay, all right. Now, along with this, again, there's also going to be settings in this global setup, not only for project templates, but of course we have in the billing section where we would have either templates for the invoice layouts or sorry, invoice templates, estimate templates, or the invoice estimate layouts. That's a whole nother training session to fit what you guys do. Basically, invoice templates are pretty straightforward. It's just checking the boxes. What do you want to show? Making sure that in the layout you have your logo in the right place and where do you want the addresses and things like that. It's pretty much checkbox, and that's the nature of it. Okay. A lot of people are just using this very simple structure. If you need something a little more advanced, we have the idea of the invoice and estimate layouts. And again, these are more for where you have a definite, I want this to be in a certain location. I can drag it around. there's, ways to, work with this. Again, we'll work with you if you do have, would like to use these. But the idea is, again, that you can get a little bit more custom design. It's still going to be boxes that are pulling in information. That's the way it's going to feed. But again, the layout may be different. You may put some lines, separator lines. You may want to use different fonting and things like that. Okay. There's also a combination with this to work with your the billing worksheets in that we can actually have the system group things in different ways that we can't do on the traditional template version. Sorry, where, for example, maybe I have some freelance, which is typically an expense, but I want it to be shown under, you know, production or professional services. So within, if I use this particular layout, that particular item would fall under the classification of professional services, just like my labor. Okay. That means I can't have a breakout of expenses. But again, sometimes when I'm grouping things together, again, it helps hide it where I can maybe just say professional services and give a value. But I know that within that will be all my freelancer expense as well into that dollar value. Okay. So again, set this up. So again, it prints out easily and the way that you want to show the information to your clients. As you can see, we have a whole bunch of them. It's, you can have as many as you want. Now, the real use of this is that then we can go into the client record. Okay. So just picking companies here and get to my clients. I know I have several of them. So for my clients, and there's going to be my client details here. And this is where I can actually set things up. So again, so let me default some of the information in. So this is pretty typical. Who's the account manager? Who's my salesperson? And when I create a project, who would fall under that? But I can also do on the project side, again, maybe default in some information such as, do I pre-bill it net or gross? Okay. Where does the markup come in? Things like that. But also in the billing area, I can also define, okay, when I create a project, again, what type of project will it be, or what type of template do I need? Okay. When I create an invoice, what is the style of the invoice? Again, and one of the things we can do is, of course, define a layout. So every time I create an invoice or an estimate, it will use this template or it'll use this layout. So again, things will be set up properly so I don't have to take the time to switch things around. So again, I'm just creating the invoices as opposed to deciding, what falls where. It's already kind of predefined for me. Okay. All right. So again, those are kind of the client setup areas. Okay. Uh, all right. The next bit, I would say again, more again for the views, and again, this is an admin kind of controlling this. Besides these views, of course, you're controlling what columns and by modifying this and um, deciding what the columns are and how it groups and what are the filters. We also have a number of areas where you can set up, for example, under projects, so menu, project manager projects, okay? We, of course, can define what columns are visible, right? So as you start to work through, we can come in and as an admin, you can say system settings, and you can define what are the columns that would be visible, okay? And we've expanded on this in a few screens. The projects, in the uh, project schedule, we've added the concept of of column sets. So within the column sets, this again, usually an admin is the one that sets these up. The column sets is where you name the set. And then from there, you can make a decision as to what columns are in each one. Okay. So again, and then the system will remember that last time I was on traffic. So again, it remembers that next time I come in, it always shows up on traffic. And then, but I can say, okay, what's my budget one? Because I more care about budget, just to kind of get that quick glance at the budget versus actuals, perhaps. Okay. And now why would I set up these items as a column set? Again, people need different views for different things. And again, keeps it all into one screen. So again, if I had all of the columns in one, I'd be scrolling left and right. So the idea is to get that nice set of columns that you need to do certain work within this. Okay. And why would I do this in a project kind of view versus going into the individual projects? Again, it's just more I can see everything in mass and I can make changes as I'm working through them and maybe still jump to the areas because again, as you know, I can jump to the budget when I click on financial status. That's taking me to the budget so I can see the budget versus actual. The project task status again is bringing me to the schedule so I can manipulate that if I need to. But there's also going to be columns in here that I can maybe at the project level edit. So again, maybe for trafficking, you can see that within here, I have, next steps and status notes. Okay. So this is kind of the project level information that I'm adding to. And you can see that I can actually click into these and make adjustments. Okay. Now the percent complete, again, that's a calculation going off of the task. But again, I can, in any custom fields that you have at the project level, those would also be available here. So again, I can type in the next steps so that everybody would see this and maybe in my status notes, again, those would be there. So again, it's just this mass update. So as I kind of toggle through, tabbing through each field, I can make changes to the status as I want to move things around if need be. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing I can do within several of these screens is actually favorite some things. So again, the favorites is more, again, what's come in for me. And so that's what these are about. Okay. So if I favorite one of the projects by coming into here and saying this, I'm going to favorite this one. Once I select it, then it's going to be up here in my favorites. And I can, again, just a quick access to see those specific ones. Okay. So again, how do I get to the column sets is more, again, edit the column sets. I create a new one. I can then add it, again, the columns that I need just by inserting a row, pretty standard entry. And then I can say who has access to it. So what security groups have access to it. So again, when they come into the project's view, this project screen, then they're seeing exactly what they need to see. Okay. You as a, account manager may have a different view from what the traffic people want to see, which may be, again, what upper management wants to see when they see this list. Okay. All right. And like I said, I mean, even with that, again, there's all these other screens that, again, help your team to see the information they need. So even within the projects, and when I click into that, the project schedule, again, that's that quick jump here. If I go to the project schedule, even within this, again, we can control what's seen. Again, this is done by coming here and saying, okay, just the system settings is setting my standard columns right here, whatever columns I want to show within this schedule. But we notice in the schedule, there's also that need to say, well, I have this one where I'm just doing the scheduling bit. So what's important for me when I create the schedules is all I need is the assign, the plan start and date, and that's it, right? Because all I'm doing is making connections and adding tasks or bringing things in. Whereas if I'm maintenance, I may have some other columns that are going, or again, maybe I just have some of this where I'm saying, allocated versus budget versus actual. So again, I just get a quick look across all my tasks. Where am I at with those? I budgeted how much, I've allocated how much, I've got the actual hours. So again, kind of like a little bit of the budget screen, but again, in a quick view so I can make, click into that task and make quick adjustments as I move on. If I find that I need to add more tasks in, of course, I can come in and, add those tasks into the system or add those into the schedule as well. Okay. All right. So I know. A lot of this is kind of maybe in things you guys already know about. Just wanted to bring those up that again, as an admin, you can control an awful lot of the information that is available to the team. And it's usually based upon security group, but there are some areas where it can actually be by the individual. Okay. Now I'm going to shift gears a little bit. If there's no questions, I'm not seeing any, so I think everybody's good with that. It's more for the individual. So again, we saw some of it. And was to, how can I navigate faster as an individual? I'm sorry. There was one more system one. I don't know why I forgot this one. Okay, we do have the concept of custom menus, and this is maybe the biggest help. As you can see, as an admin, I have access to absolutely everything, but this might be too much information for some of your team. So what we can do is here under system setup, and we have custom menu setup. Sorry. Okay. And what this is basically by security group. So I can come in and say, okay, this is the admin team. I think that's actually me. And under the top level, I can add folders or items. Um, Hold off on the custom URL for now. Have some features for that. But for the most part, it's just saying add items or add a new folder. So when I add an item, it's really looking at those individual bubbles from the menu, right? So sorry, close that back up. So as you say, today billing, today creative. So again, I can just say add that one, add this one, the everyone, they need their timesheet. So I'm making it very simple for that user to see. Okay. I think this is mine, but I can't remember if I'm an executive owner. I'll quickly do this. So once I click out, it's been saved. When I come back in, you can see that's the menus I get, right? So I only have today billing because that's what I deal with, and I deal with my timesheet. Those are the two things I need. So again, I set that up automatically. I can always come to say show all apps, and that'll give me my full access, if that makes sense. If I say done, again, it just switches it back to those main ones. So again, let's get back to that system setup here. So again, I've only set as I'm sitting here, I'm just putting these in, okay, and deciding what is it that I want to add. And again, I can create a new folder and then put the bubbles inside that new folder. So I have seen some people where they've pretty much, said, I need all of the, add an item. And they, again, I always deal with employees. I always deal with clients. I always deal with notes. Again, those are the report center. Again, just getting those quick links. Okay. Now I will say, this is still in the works. It should be out hopefully by the end of summer, the custom URL. Now, the custom URL, unfortunately, it opens within Workamajig. So it's almost like it does another label of Workamajig. The custom URL was really designed to kind of do reports and things like that. So the fix that we're going to put, or the addition to this that we're going to put in is, for example, if you had a specific report, it would open up just like a normal bubble, open up within Workamajig. We'll have the report that just opens up into there. Some of the other custom URLs, again, sending it to google.com or something like that, again, those may be blocked because that's URL does not allow me to put it into a subset, right? So be part of a different website or embed it. Sorry. It's not allowed to be embedded. And so again, that may prevent you from using that custom URL. So again, the original design for this was really about getting, again, quicker access to the items that your team needs and setting those up on a security group basis. Okay. Again, one of the new ones that we're going to have for the URL is that you'll be able to kind of more like a bookmark on the reports and have that show up in Workmajig. So it'll just be one of the bubbles. So again, for the financial reports and things like that that you use on a regular basis, maybe it as a bubble is better than having a favorite. Okay. All right. So that was the custom menus. Okay. Probably ought to shut that off before I drives me crazy. Okay. All right. And this is how you take away those custom menus. You just delete the items that you don't want anymore. And then once you come back in, it's going to be back to the way you had it before. Okay. All right. So now from the individual basis, sorry for that little sidetrack. Okay. On an individual basis, I can also control kind of what I have access to. Now, of course, you guys, admins have told me what bubbles I have, what access to what information I have. But again, even then, I can make some adjustments to it. So on the creative page, for example, today creative, of course, they would have, again, their assignments, whichever version of this you're using. Okay. But even with this, I can come in and I can say display options. Okay. So in the display option, you're controlling more of the sorting and the grouping and what's included or not. So you can, for yourself. And of course, the system remembers it. So again, I only want to look at things that have open to-dos because we use to-dos and I only care about those tasks that have open to-do so I can deal with them when needed. Okay. I only want to see tasks that are ready for me right now. I don't care about the ones that are, still being worked on by other people. But again, that's the way of setting these up. So again, that displays what I need. If I deal with deliverables, things like that, do I want it to sort by start date? Do I want it to sort by client status, priority? Again, various ways for you to get that done, either grouping it or sorting it in different ways. And again, the date range is also, again, show me only things that are due on or before today. I don't care about my future work. And so again, I would set this. Sorry, a lot of my stuff, as you can see, is over 500 days old and needs to be dealt with. There we go. The other thing is, again, you can see that some of these are expanded and some of them are, contracted, so it gets a little more space, utilize that space. Again, there is a view for that, again, under display options, where it's saying auto expand the tasks, and the difference for that is, again, it's just basically, does it show a good chunk of the information or is it collapsed in to just show me the assignment itself? Okay. Now, kind of surprised there are some people, even with this card view, that you may help. This one, for example, this one has, for example, the percentages, and I said use the percentage to do this. You guys may find that really, as far as you guys work, it's really they just need the done, right? So we can change that from being a percentage to just say I'm done. I'm still working on it. I'm done, right? If I'm not, there's not the percentage need. Okay. Also again, if I click into a white area, again, that just is bringing me to my assignments, my to-do list. If I've been sent a deliverable, if I have a to-do list, here we go. So if I have a to-do list, it's giving me that. If these are attached to a deliverable, so it's work to be done, it of course would provide that link back to it. So again, just working straight from my assignment cards, I can jump into the areas that I need to get to. Again, you guys are controlling kind of what I see. If I shouldn't have access to spec sheets, I'm not going to see those. If I don't have access to the daily feed, I don't have access to that either. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? So again, this is just my working from my today creative. Again, what's my best navigation? Each team, some people like it in a grid view. Some people like it, the card view. If you're using the assignment review board, then again, you would probably lock them down to this. But even with that, you may have them looking at the card or the grid view. Okay. You can control, do they have access to this? So if, we always use the card view, then you can make these other two disappear. Okay. Now, as far as, the filtering, it was first, now that I'm seeing the display options, right? I can control this. As an admin, can I control that? Yes. Via system settings, you can see that by security group, I can set those to begin with. Okay. So if I make any changes to it, so this one, and I say save, it's going to give me these. And again, the green is basically if that person has touched it and changed the view in any way, right? Change the grouping, change whatever, leave those alone, change everybody else. I usually say the red one is blow out their settings and set it up with this. right? They can always go reconfigure it under display options, but that's the two settings, right? So if you go into system settings, so whatever page, system settings, and basically it'll say what can you set up for them. And then once it's done, you save, and in the save, you have that choice of the red or the green. Like I said, the green is if I had come into here and said, oh, I want to do it by the date range of start on or before today, that will eliminate me from the your update as an admin. Okay, that's the green update. If you use the red one, then it goes back to whatever set it would change to whatever settings you have. Okay, all right. All right. So again, just controlling those things, but again, on each screen, I'm going to be able to, even with that, kind of manage things for myself. So even with this one, in the projects one, where you set me up with different maybe column sets for me to use, I can still come in and say, my display options, what is it that I want to show? So again, uh, or what do I want to see? You have the system settings as an admin to say, this is the way it will group, this is the way it'll do it. But again, I have my display options to, again, give me that information that I need. Okay. All right. I had talked about, again, the global search. Again, I'm always surprised the number of people that don't know that the global search, it's really just start typing and it'll have it. So again, uh, right, just type in Frank and you see I have everything that contains a Frank. That's all my opportunities and anything else that has, I might have invoices. I have a project 256, for example, and that's going to give me, well, that's the only invoice I have that's 256. 101, for example. And again, just do a partial number and you can see 101 and you can see all the 101s that it provided me. So again, the more I have, of course, the better it'll be. So if I do 013, for example, I see that. That's going to give me, again, those invoices or projects or whatever that have that 013 in it. Okay. Again, the recent, always great to have. The views is, of course, again, what is there. And I can always favorite the ones that I need. So again, it gives me quick access to those ones that I use all the time. So it's right on top. Okay. Now, another thing, again, it is browser based. So there's obviously browser tricks that you can use or, you know, Uh, so if, for example, this one, typically if I click on the project number, it's going to open up here. And sorry, I had to move out the Zoom one. Okay. So that's going to, open it up here in a panel. But if I do need to open it more, in a new tab, that's the way I like to work is again, is uh, control or command click. And of course it opens it up into a new tab. Okay. Now you can see, so now I can, kind of be where I'm at, but now I have kind of the full access to the project, start working with that. Once I close it, come into here and maybe hit refresh and any updates that I hadn't done would then be, available in this. Okay. So again, using that command or control click to open up another tab. Probably you've heard in training a number of times, I would say, hey, can you duplicate that tab? Right. So again, I'm getting two tabs that have the same thing. So now I can navigate one to a different location versus what's here. Okay. Now, one, not all locations can I get that to happen. So some you can see it does, but if it's going from, for example, the spec sheets, I think I can't do that one. Maybe no, it does. Usually if it's a report, like it stops at a report, I think, again, when I do the global search and I do, for example, contacts, well, that won't open in another tab because it's this stuff. But if in the all contacts one, as you can see, when I clicked on it, that tab, it opened into a new tab for me. Okay. When I'm working, for example, within a schedule, if that's what I'm doing, the system does some things where if you're working through the grid, this is another reason to have that those fields in there. Again, what fields do you want to work with? Sorry. And so basically if I'm working through here and you can see that as I enter tab, 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 it's going, through. Those are things that are not available to edit. So I'll just come back to a schedule one. Okay. So here I go tab, and that takes me to the days, dates, actual start, percentage complete, right? Those are the fields I have. As soon as I hit the end and hit tab again, it actually creates a new task for me so that I can rename that task and then tab and give it some days, right? As you can see, right? And there you go. So again, it's continuing to kind of add tasks as I need to. So I can, obviously if it doesn't click into the add part, that one I'd have to click into. But again, for filling out some of these fields, again, I can tab through. The most common thing I see this for is when I do an order. So for example, shortening up the order. Once I get the initial information in, I won't worry about that part. Oh, need to pick an item. Okay. Okay, so now that I have the item in here, again, picking the project and tabbing through, of course, I have this closed up. No, no, why is this auto expanding for me? Okay, okay. Shouldn't have grabbed an order. Okay, uh, yeah, tabbing, and yeah, let's see. Okay, so I shouldn't have grabbed an order. Let me do a bill, an invoice. Sorry, I need a media invoice. There we go. Okay, media order. Okay, okay. So now that I, have that done, again, picking the item, that's usually going to be defaulted in, and I do my gross, 500 commission. And again, when I tab through to the last one, there's a task required. But again, you can see that I can keep tabbing through and create my next line for my immediate orders, right? So keep going through. The other thing I can do, again, maybe you're not aware, is that when I click on this, oh, should have grabbed a project that had something on it. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Once I do have a line in here, realize that you can use this, which is copy a line. If you use revisions, most people manually doing this wouldn't have revisions. But again, I would use the copy line. So I can just, copy, 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 and I have all my lines copying out. So now I can just go through and change dates if I need to, and maybe the description if needed. Okay. Uh, the other thing, again, saving time is I've got this created. Now I need it for a different vendor. Maybe it's roughly the same. You just say copy the order out, pick the vendor that I need. If it's the same project, pick the project. And again, what task does it all go to? And then copy that out. And it's going to create a carbon copy, but now for a different vendor. It could also be for the same vendor, different project, right? So again, whatever you need to copy it into. So again, I did this before. I can open it up and say, copy this out. And then maybe once it's copied out, make those adjustments accordingly. Okay. Okay. Some of the other kind of navigation type things. Again, your keyboard escape takes you back one spot. So again, I open these things up as I hit escape more and more. Again, that just closes each panel that comes across. Um, if I, yeah, again, so again, it's just that quick one. The other is if I've been kind of getting in further and further, if I click on the very left one or again, whichever kind of layer I want to get to, I just click on that layer and it closes everything on top. So you're right back to that same layer. Okay. Okay. Now, the other thing I've seen, because again, browser based, is there may be certain reports. or views that maybe I didn't favorite, although when I get to the report center, as you know, I can favorite that as well. So this is, it kind of rolls out. Okay. But of course, each of these reports has its own URL. So the reports dashboard, of course, gives me this one. But as I click into each one, you can see that each of them has their own unique URL. So I can use that URL and I can favorite that URL in my browser. Or again, if I've opened it up in a tab and I can have that tab open upon opening my browser type of idea. So again, almost every screen has this unique URL for that screen. So bookmark it. And so then it's just going to be there. Again, you can open it up to tab, whichever it is. Okay. So again, project recap analysis, that's just one of the things in my bookmark. So now when I'm navigating around, it's like, oh, let me go back to the project. There it is. It opens up. And again, with the settings, depending on the report, I may have that set to auto run. So it just auto runs. Okay. All right. So I know I did I do less clicking? Yeah. So the idea, again, is set it up. So again, when I open the screen that I need to get to, it's providing me with the information that I need. Okay. So like this project recap by project. So when I open that, oh, sorry, this is my broken one. Uh, You can see that I've been adjusting my my custom reports. Uh, so again, when I get to certain things, again, when I open it, I want to make sure that it is providing me with that information that I need. How can I quickly get to it? Again, there's, is it via a bookmark? Is it via a schedule? Maybe the schedule again sends me this report every week, every month, whatever it is. A lot of times it's the reports that I see is more for like the traffic reports, for example, the task do, the do but not done type of reports. Those are things that are being sent out to multiple people prior to the Monday morning scrum, right? So again, use the system kind of provide you the information that you need. I know getting email all the time is kind of harsh. So sometimes again, the email may come here where it's again, it's a message that's down here and it's located here as opposed to you receiving an email. And then again, you can click into that and it kind of gives you that information and then you can deal with it on that case. Okay. All right. I hope that helped. Are there any questions? Again, I only got the one. Because, again, I don't think I gave you anything new other than, again, I'm surprised in some areas where people are not using this or didn't know about it. And I think the most common really is that global search, knowing that that global search is there. And then with that is the recent. And then with that is actually the views, right? The second most common is, again, that usually for project managers and maybe for creatives, is just knowing that there's this view that can provide different information just by, changing maybe the column sets. So again, that group of people sees the closing review one, but they don't see anything else except the default and then the closing one, right? But somebody else has the budget versus the traffic, right? So they kind of have all three. And again, it opens up to what they need to. And then providing the fields that may need updating within that grid so they can quickly, you can see I have custom fields here. And so again, this is just a drop down list. You can see that I can just come in and right within the grid, I'm editing all of these things. Okay. And again, of course, that updates the project itself. Must have something that's required in this. So it's not saving, but forgot what I have that's required in here. Okay. It's something in there. but but again, typically it's going to be, again, I'm going to have those columns available that I can work my way through right within the grid to update those things, especially project status or billing status if that's the way you work. Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's all I really have today for you. If there are not any questions, uh, this video usually takes about a week for us to kind of process it through, and it'll be on our, if I go to, just go with you, right? YouTube.com, right? Okay. And so here's YouTube. And again, if you haven't, I just search for Workamajig, and that's going to bring me to here. And so you can subscribe to that. And as you subscribe, these will be part of that video. So if I go into here, you'll see that we have our videos. We also have, again, as we upload each one of our webinars, those will be in this location as well. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, and have, especially for like maybe the custom reports and how to get those set up, things like that, just send a note to support@workamajig.com. Be happy to give those to you. I didn't show you a lot of custom reports. Um, because sometimes that waylays what's available. But again, I may have a report already pre-made. I can import it into your system. If you guys have any reports that you run, uh, and you would, like to share with the community, please export those out and send it to us. We can take a look at it and see if we can do something and maybe, yeah, hey guys, this is a great way of doing this, and to get that information, and we can import it into other people or make it available. Okay. As always, again, lots of good information on support.workamajig.com, which is our help guide. And again, if you guys have any questions or further questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time and effort that you put in. Have a great rest of the day. Talk to you soon.